Day 496 in my Hex journey. I hope you're doing all great. Thanks to my latest subscriber, Hexy Mother. Welcome to the Hood Sister, and please now make sure to hit that like button. Let's get this video up to 200 likes. Hit that subscriber button and turn on post notifications to get notified for every new video. And now let's get started with today's episode. In today's episode, we're gonna talk exclusively about shares, about the Hex shares. What are Hex shares exactly? So I will do now my best to give you a short overview. What are shares exactly? What are they doing and how do they work and why they are so important? So let's get started right away. First, we're gonna have a short presentation, a short overview that you should have a nice theoretical overview what are shares, and then by the end of this video I'm gonna show you some live examples in my wallet directly, so you will see what shares are effectively doing and you should have a nice overview. So let's get started with the short presentation. Now you can see the Hex shares. I presented something. We have some overviews, Bitcoin mining versus Hex minting, and then some information about the Hex shares, and we see some mathematics for the max shares, and people are most interested in the topic of the share price. I gave you a short share summary and an outlook for the share price in 10 years. So let's get started right away. So on the first side you can see the difference between the Bitcoin mining and the Hex minting. This information is, by the way, available on hex.com. So for most of the people out there, they understand Bitcoin very well and maybe had heard some terms about Bitcoin mining, hash rate or difficulty. So I give you a short overview and it will be compared to the Hex ecosystem. So in Bitcoin we have the Bitcoin mining, in Hex we have the staking. You earn your more Hex by staking your Hex. In Bitcoin you have to mine your tokens, so you have to calculate some stuff and then you maybe get some reward. And in Bitcoin you also have a hash rate. People love to talk about the hash rate. Hash rate is going up, hash rate is dropping, and in Hex we have the shares. The shares are your hash rate, and this is really important to know. You will see in a few minutes why. People also talk about difficulty in the Bitcoin environment. The difficulty goes up and down depending on the hash rate, and in the Hex ecosystem we have the total shares. So what is happening when you buy more miners in the Bitcoin ecosystem? The difficulty goes up, the hash rate goes up, and it is harder to mine more Bitcoin. The same happens in the Hex ecosystem. If people buy more Hex and stake them for longer, the share price increases. This is very nice. You have in the Bitcoin ecosystem the block rewards. In Hex you have inflation plus the penalties. So now to the next slide, the Hex shares. I try to do my best to explain you. This information is as well freely available outside in the internet. I will credit all the links down below in the description. So now let's get started. When Hex is staked, it is burned and the contract allocates Hex shares to the stake. Shares are not tokenized, so that they are not transferable, that they remain locked in the stake until destroyed using either the end stake or the God accounting contract functions. So what that means, if you do a Hex stake, the smart contract is burning your Hex tokens and it gives you some shares. This will also give you the interest. We will see this in a minute. It's really important, and this is really important to understand. The shares are the mechanism to earn your interests. And as well, we have to clarify it for the moment. Shares are not tokenized, so they are not transferable for the moment. We will see maybe with the upcoming pulse change some wrapped T-shares. So this would mean you can send your T-shares away, you can trade them, and you can buy and sell them as well. So once a stake is finished, you have two possibilities. Either you're gonna end your stake right away. That means the smart contract calculates based on your T-shares all the interests and pays out the new Hex tokens to your wallet, or you perform the good accounting contract function, which will stop the stake, which will stop the penalize mechanism, but will not mint the tokens directly to your wallet. You have to do this in a separate step when you do the end stake function as well. This is more meant for the tax purposes, so people maybe don't want to have their Hex to their wallet in this year, so they perform a good accounting function. Hex shares are the most crucial part of Hex staking. Their amount locked in a stake determines how much of the daily payout is credited as interest. I already said that before, so the Hex smart contract is calculating, depending on your shares, the daily payout for your stake. The sum of all existing hex shares on the blockchain is called the total hex shares. The total shares can go up and down in the short term, but there is no market cap of hex shares. Due to practical reasons, a trillion share is called a tera share or a T share. So the next step down would be the billion shares and then the million shares and so on. So for now we are still going with trillion shares or tera shares. This is really nice, but you will see if you stake some smaller amounts, you only get some B shares. So now to the next topic. This would be a short term. You can pause the video right here and read it by yourself. This is the information about the max theoretical hex shares out there. You can do this with some simple math, and there is a theoretical max shares on a daily base, but you have to calculate it. So for now, pause the video, read it by yourself, do some fucking research. Now let's proceed with the next slide. The share price. The share price is the information which the people are the most interested in, and you have to be aware the share price only goes up when priced in hex. That can mean, we'll see this in a second on some charts. The share price is only going up if you measure it in hex, but in US dollar values the share price can fluctuate a little bit, but it is really important to know that the share price is going only up in hex, because if you're going to stake some hex, you pay hex for the T shares. To get more T shares you need more hex, and if the price goes up in hex you need even more hex. This is because each time a staker ends a stake, the contract calculates the amount of shares the staker could create by restaking the entire return for the same time. So the shares is the mechanism to prevent compounding interests. You can see this here. If the return is so high that it could create a higher amount of shares, the contract calculates the new share price such that restaking would give the same amount of shares. That means you should not get more and more by staking short term and compounding the stakes. You should stake longer, because longer pays better and also bigger pays better. So let me proceed to the second share price slide. Few stakes can actually achieve such an amazing return to set a new share price, but the newly set price is used for all the stakers. This is really important to understand. So we saw this a few days ago. The share price just bumped up 200 hex for 1 trillion shares, and that means this is the new share price for everyone. If you want to get in at this day, you have to pay a little bit more than yesterday. For this reason, the share price appreciates at a faster rate than the total hex supply can keep up. This results in a maximum possible share generally decreasing, though it cannot be variable on short term. For example, restaking longer creates more shares due to longer pays better. This in opposition to the total hex supply always increasing. At some point, this is deflationary pressure will result in the formation of a peak of total hex shares, after which point they will start trending down. This second phase is known as the total shares deflation. This is really important to understand as well, so please think about this and get your shares today, better today than tomorrow. So a short summary first. Over time this share prices increases because longer stakes pays better than compounding short stakes. This is also verifiable in the economics audit from CoinFabric. You can find the link down below in the description, and we have there a mathematical proof that the longer stakes are getting paid better. In the future there will be more hex in circulation, keep this in mind, interests and minting, but it will be more expensive to buy shares as time has passed. Hex shares are valuable and rare. Please keep this in mind. I did the same mistake in the first couple of weeks. You should see my wallet. You have daily updates on my wallet, and the share price is just going up. You cannot keep up. Better stake today than tomorrow. It is important to accumulate shares at a low price while you can. So the next share summary is a little bit more of a summary. You can see we talked about the max theoretical hex shares, so the total shares plus 310% times circulating supply divided by share price. It is variable on short term but deflationary on long term. The total shares are variable on short term, deflationary on long term as well. It's controlled by the Hex staker class, capped by a max possible Hex shares, but there is just a theoretical max Hex share cap. The Hex share price only goes up if you measure it in Hex, can increase upon minting tokens from stakes. The share market cap equals total shares times share price, and it is variable. So I hope I gave you already a nice overview of the shares. Let me proceed with the share price after 496 days. We have a nice example on hexinfo.io here. You can see the prediction dotted curve is a little bit banana, but you can see really in the launch phase for the first year here, the share price is going up steadily upwards. We had a huge increase after the big payday. Of course, a lot of bonus interests were paid out, and since then the journey just went up again. We see some bounces in here. We see this as well if you take, for example, GraphHex.rocks. You see a similar graphics, but it's only for one share, so the price for one share is 1.745 hex. This is the same if you multiply this for 1 trillion share. So the same behavior here. We have the dotted line. You can see the share price is quite following the dotted line. Sometimes it's a little below, sometimes a little bit above, but let me zoom in and you can see just the recent event. It spiked up way heavily than expected, but of course big stakes can make a price impact to the share price, and this is what we saw. This meant that the share price just went up a little bit for everybody, around 200 hex for 1 T share. You have also on GraphHex.rocks a nice price chart in USD. You can see the price for 1 trillion share at the moment, $333, and you see as well the price chart. You see the accumulation phase going on, and I guess we are now just in a solid uptrend again. We see more stakes coming in, we see more stakes getting staked for longer, and this has of course an effect on the share price. So check hexinfo.io, check GraphHex.rocks for some nice charts for the Hex price. And of course, the third site where we do our staking on go.hex.com, you have the T-share daily close price in USD. That means the latest price before the day ticks over, and you can see here this is a little bit a shorter and a smaller graphics, but I like this graphics a lot because you can really see how the share price can jump up pretty quick, pretty high. We had here a low, I think it was on day 37, around 60 cents, and now we are sitting just below $400. So this is going pretty fast. You can see we have here a little bit a V formation, and this is happening all the time, and I'm pretty sure we will see much higher Hex share prices in the future. So now to the outlook for the next 10 years. I found this nice graphics on hexgraphs.com. You see here the red line. This is the stake share price. This is the share price which we had with the big payday, and it's just going up. And if you just estimate the share price change over the next 10 years, you can see this line is almost going parabolic, and you are slightly in the beginning. You're just over here in the start, so it's never too late to get in, get some Hex, buy some Hex shares when you stake them for longer, and enjoy your interests. So this is already the first part for this presentation. Let me jump out of here and switch over to the wallet. You can see the share price for 1 T share is 17,458 Hex at the moment. And let me take this example for 1 million Hex. And we're gonna stake this bastard for 5,555 days. This would give some bonuses. Longer pays better because I'm gonna stake it for the maximum amount possible. This gives me 2 million Hex in addition bonuses. Bigger pays better. 1 million Hex is unfortunately not such a big stake. It gives me 666 Hex. In total, it can calculate with 3 million Hex my shares which I would earn if I stake 1 million for 5,555 days. And with the price of today, you can see I get 171 T shares for the stake. But now, fun fact, because the share price is only going up in Hex, let me scroll down a little bit. And you can see this already here. I did a couple days ago on the March 17, I did a stake of 1 million Hex for 5,555 days, and it gave me 175 T shares. Compared to the T shares I would get today, this is already 4 T shares less. But of course, now you could say this is not so much, but let me head over to the homepage, scroll down a little bit on the section of the daily data. You can see yesterday we received 5.737 hex per T share, and just imagine hex at $1. This would be a lot of dollars you would miss out over 10 years, which you will not get. So better get your T shares today than tomorrow. They just get more expensive over time. So this is already the end of this video for today. If you found any value in it, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. This would be really appreciated. If you have any questions, drop a comment down below. Please don't get scammed by all the bots who are commenting on my comments at the moment. Just don't respond to any other WhatsApp groups. I'm not inviting you to any groups anyway. Stay long and fat, stay safe out there. See you in the next one. Peace.